And if I cut out because I'm on my work laptop so the VPN sometimes cuts out just to talk. What are you on about? What do you mean 100th KKK? What are you on
No,
about?
don't say it because now people are going to be listening and they're going to think I'm a wacko. We don't want that.
I reckon they probably thought that before this, man.
Oh, please.
How are you, man?
Good, man. Just can't complain on a Monday night, 8:15, talking about Carlton.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a quick one because I don't know how much there is to talk about from that shit that we watched yesterday. Seriously.
Well, what do you want to talk about? It's the tale of 1/4 and 3/4. That's it. There's
All right.
two things to talk about.
Let's
And maybe
hit
plus a couple of injuries.
and maybe some personal life. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I'll hit the intro.
And maybe more.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It was clean. It was clinical. Like, we executed to perfection.
Now, I'd like to actually go into a few stats and I questioned Charlie about a month or so ago.
That is so frustrating as a fan. All you needed was an extra 2-3%.
On the podcast, you're a shit person. You're arrogant. You're obnoxious. I'm sick of it. And I reckon I've got 2 more episodes in me.
That intro actually still makes me laugh every time at the end there. Anyway,
I'm just laughing about it as well.
Welcome everyone to episode 158 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, part of the Blue Broad Media Network, and proudly powered, although we're not in the studio at the moment, in 2025 by Mavros Studios in Preston. We'll be back there soon. We're also proudly partnered and sponsored by 3099 Jerky, Vortep Clothing. Head to vortep.com.au. Almost Blues Brothers at the checkout for 10% off. And St. David Dairy. Head down to their cafe in North Fitzroy. I'm still not back home. That's why we're not in the studio. I'm in. Never guess where I am. If you've actually listened to anything I've said, Jules, over the last month, you know where I am.
Eastern Europe.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but where?
Let me guess. Albania.
Nah, I just left. I'm in Budva. We just got to Budva in Montenegro yesterday, so it's nice. It's
good spot.
It's all right. It's all right. I actually liked Have you been to Albania or not?
No, I've been to Albania. I've been to Montenegro, Croatia, Serbia, and another country around there. I can't remember.
Really liked.
Yeah, no, it's a good spot.
I actually really liked Albania. Actually, to be honest, we've been in Montenegro for maybe 3 or 4 days. I liked Albania more than this, to be honest. Different landscape. It's not what you'd expect out of that country, and the people are very, very nice. So, had a good week since then. Anyway, what's going on with you?
I'm trying to think. Made Salami on Saturday. Obviously, you weren't there, so it ran smoothly, of course.
Not from the videos that I saw.
No, it actually went well. Well, considering we did like an extra 20-something kilos.
True.
Yeah, the first batch we had to redo. Yeah, just because we thought, we got the mix wrong a little bit, so we adjusted quickly. But as you do, you adjust and still get the win. But Carlton, unfortunately, we can't adjust in terms of what the opposition are doing at the moment. So,
well, we got the win. We'll get into that. We got the win, but we'll get into that. Don't
get me started. Honestly, lucky Pov isn't here because he'd be furious as well. I went to the pub.
Hold on. I saw a photo from your salami day, right? I saw people with black plastic gloves mixing that meat.
Yep.
Where did the black gloves come from? And why?
Cross-contamination.
Who? Right. I'm gonna ask one question, and I reckon I know who I reckon I know who enforced this. I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to answer it, and you're going to confirm. The person who enforced it, and the person was Silvio Cassano. Was the person Silvio?
I wouldn't say it was enforced, but you know what? I would say more so. I would say, knowing how Pov is, he was bound to bleed.
So who enforced it? Was it your dad?
It wasn't really enforced. There was those there. It was more of an option.
It was your dad.
And then
it was your dad.
More of an Were you there or not? I'm letting you know how it was. It was an option. Some of us didn't wear it. I don't think your dad wore it, but he didn't really do much, to be honest with you, on the actual day. Hopefully, he's not
No.
listening.
It really does.
So, but yeah, hopefully they turn out well. I was speaking to my dad before. He reckons they're looking not too bad. I mean, it's only been 48 hours, but hopefully they turn out well in
Sure.
6 weeks, something like that.
I'm sure they're going to be fine. They should be ready almost by the time we get back. I'm back in 4 weeks. So
No way, not 4 weeks.
the smaller ones.
Maybe the thin ones. Maybe the thin ones.
The smaller ones.
Yeah.
What else? You went to a
Hey,
pub.
The not the mild. I wouldn't say the mild, but the one just above the mild, Joe. He's going to be elite. I'm telling you right now.
Is that the one? Is that the one you guys labelled fucking unreal?
Correct. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, that one right there is going to be insane. Like, we cooked it, as you do, just like test to see how it is, and it was it was a joke. We actually should sell it.
I actually missed being there this year. It was it's one of my favourite days of the year, to be honest. And I do it with you guys. I do it with my cousin Corey as well. But it's fun making salami. So I'm excited. I'm actually intrigued to see how this one comes out that I haven't had my hands in it. But I back his in. I think it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Now, if you've been listening or watching this podcast for a little while, you remember that back in 2023 we made salami, and this club went on a fucking 10-game run. So I don't know. It could be.
Did we not? We made salami last year.
Yeah, and then we went on a different run. We're not going to talk about that, though. What else did you do? You said you went to a pub.
Yeah, I went to Mona Castle on Sunday to watch the footy. I was actually sitting in like an awkward spot because when Olivia, who's one of my younger sisters, booked the pub, it was in the area where there's no TV, but I sort of positioned myself on an angle, and I could see the TV. Let's just put it that way. So I was actually it turned out all right in the end. But poor old Reese was was nowhere to be seen in terms of trying to actually watch the game. So unfortunate to him, he was he was set aside.
Yeah, well, based on how the game went after quarter time, I wouldn't be too disappointed.
Well, it's irrelevant. It's no point even watching it. I don't even want to talk about it.
Without any further ado,
let's get into it.
Final scores from Optus Stadium: West Coast 7-10-52, Carlton 12-14-86. Goal kickers for the Blues. We had 7 on the day. Chincotta, Curnow, De Koning, Durds 1 each. Zach Williams with 2. Lockie Fogarty, Mitch McGovern with 3 each. Injuries for the Blues: Curnow with some calf tightness and O'Keefe with a hammy, which looks like he'll be out for a little while. But Charlie, after the game, apparently said it was more so awareness, and I reckon he'll get up for North, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's just.
So it was just funny that you mentioned the scores, like in terms of how many goals we had. Sorry, not goals we had, but how many people had scored a goal over the course of the game, and you said 7 goal scorers, no?
Yep.
It's probably how many we had in the first quarter as well.
It would have been close because, Fogarty kicked 3 in the first quarter, so no, not quite. But I reckon we had 6 maybe in the first quarter. 5.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I reckon.
Probably 5. Let's talk. Let's do this today, all right? Because this could be a very short podcast. I'm just going to let everyone know right now because there's really not too much to talk about this game outside of the first quarter, outside of what happened after that. So let's break it down like this. Let's go. Yes, we are live as well. There's a couple of people asking in the chat. We are live, so get involved in the live chat. Let's break it down this way. Let's go for first quarter. What we liked from the first quarter. Let's go after quarter time. Clearly, what we didn't like is what we're likely going to be talking about, and we'll go into the preview and finish off. So first quarter, what did you see? What did you like? Do you think that West Coast were just that bad, or do you think we actually played some good footy?
I would say it was definitely both. Even McCoulter obviously mentioned at quarter time. I think he was on Fox Footy and labelled their effort as pathetic.
I like that.
But in saying that,
I actually liked that, by the way.
yeah, of course. So you should do that. Yeah, you got to be honest and brutally honest. And I feel like as if we were playing good footy and we obviously made the most of it. I think our clearance dominance was pretty clear. I think we were like plus 20 or something like that in terms of contested possession or something like that early on. So yeah, obviously we had dominance there, but most of it was by hand. So where we sort of were able to get the ball from inside to out and able to use some outside runners in the likes of like Sincotta, Fantasia, and the like. So it was very, very good footy, very scintillating. What's the word? Scintillating? Is that scintillating?
Scintillating.
Very good. Scintillating footy. To be fair, it actually could have been quite more. It should have been more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think
yeah,
what was it? It was like 46-7 or something at quarter time. I think like that's as dominant as it gets. To be honest, like we probably could have put a couple more on.
I think
we had
it could have been more. Obviously, happy with the scoreboard after that many after quarter time. We're at quarter time, but I don't know. Even then, like I've got pretty high standards, as you can imagine. Even the way they were getting the ball inside forward 50, and then the manner in which we were exiting, even in the first quarter, was for me poor, like low standard. You got Doherty. I don't know. He had so much more time, and that's where obviously they kicked there first. But there's even likes of like Saad just like spinning out to get onto his left and dump kicking it where he's got a handball in acres and he's looking forward. So I don't know whether there was lack of communication or a rush of blood to the head. But even in the first quarter, Joe, for me, obviously the scoreboard was great, but for me, there's still a lot of work even inside the first quarter as well.
I think what I liked was it was our profile. So obviously very contested. It felt like we won every single ground ball that was there. Every 50-50 as soon as the ball hit the deck, we won it. We were clean by hand. What I really liked was how instinctive we looked to get the handball out forward of a contest. So it was very much play on a bit of instinct with your hands, get it moving forward. It was clean. The handball receives were clean. The link-up play was clean. That's what you want to see a lot more of from this side, is that if you're going to win the ground ball, get it forward quickly, get it forward effectively. And, I mean, I'm with you. We probably could have kicked a couple more. I think we left a little bit to be desired. But you can't really ask for too much more than that from a scoreboard standpoint. The game was over at quarter time. Like, that was it. Much like last week against Essendon, I think we did enough early on to then, I don't know, we'll talk about it in a minute, but obviously to take the foot off, it looked like we took the foot off. Not that I agree with that 100%. I think Charlie coming out of the game as a precaution, that's another telltale sign that you've taken the foot off and you put the cue in the rack. Because if the game's on the line, he probably doesn't come out and he plays through. So, I think the game was clearly done and dusted 5 minutes into the second quarter. A bit of arm at that point, but when you come up against a side like that, I'm with you. Like when you come up against a side like that, you've just got to put foot on the throat. Like you have to, because at the end of the day, if we're going to be and we're 2 games out of the 8, so it's a big if at this point. If we're going to be fighting for a final spot, we've seen before how tight it can get from a percentage standpoint, right? So I think we did leave a little bit on the table, especially early, but particularly after quarter time. My God, that was just. It was a hard watch this week, man. Like last week against Essendon, I didn't feel this disappointed by the result. I actually thought we dropped off, but Essendon are a much better outfit than what West Coast are. Not that they're world beaters, but fuck, man, this was just dour. Like there was nothing to it.
Yeah, but why is it that we can play a quarter like that? Obviously against probably the worst comp or worst in the comp or one of the worst in the comp. And then for two and a half quarters, put in the performance like we did, even though a couple of players did go out. I just think I don't think Charlie Kerno and then Hudson and obviously O'Keefe going out is or should be a major factor in terms of the way we actually perform after quarter time.
Yeah, I mean,
like
yeah, I mean, the Charlie decision at the time, I sort of looked at it and went, okay, surely this is precaution. It doesn't look like he's done anything serious here. And based on his comments after the game, I expect him to play against North. I don't know. When you don't really have a key forward to straighten you up, it does become a little bit more difficult, I guess, to score because you don't really have that target that you can draw the defense to. And it seemed a lot more spread, and it seemed like it wasn't as cohesive. But even still, you're playing against genuinely the worst side in the comp by like a long way, you know. So I would have expected us to kick 100 at a minimum. We've kicked 86 points. I mean, the stats will tell you that we dominated them pretty much in every category. But it just
they ended up winning clearances in the end.
They did in the end, yeah. But it just looked like we were going through the motions. Like we only laid 58 tackles for the game. That's just for a team that prides himself on being contested and a ground ball team. You'd expect that our tackle count is closer to 70 every other week. And against a side like this, if you can't show intent against an easy beat and an easy kill, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where their heads went. And to be honest, it didn't look like a coaching issue. And I know we talk about this a lot because Voss, I don't know if you saw the footage. In the third quarter, he was fucking seething in the coach's box. Seething. So I don't know. I don't know where this comes from. I don't really know. I don't really know what goes on with this playing group at the moment. Once we've either built a lead or once it looks like the game's sort of gone. They just every other week it just looks like we get to a point where we're content or we're a point where we're out of it and that's it. Put the cue in the rack, try again next week. There's just no resilience there like we've seen in the past.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Stephen Kimonides, he basically says that they revert back to super safe footy and mate, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. So I'm just like, I don't know, like you go back in and you have a look at it. Yeah, like in terms of contested possessions and clearances, we're up majorly in the first half, or at least the first quarter and a bit. And then for a side like West Coast to be able to win clearances, for me, it's pretty telling. And I just feel like as if there needs to be some other changes mid-game for us to be able to revert to, I would say, inside the contest, other than just the cliche of just roll up the sleeves and get on with it and sort of make it more of a contest. I feel like as if there's got to be some other levers that we need to be able to pull, because obviously some sides, and even McCoulter said it in his presser. He goes compared to last time, obviously when we played in down in Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, and they put work into us in terms of the clearance battle. He goes, it didn't go to show basically in the first quarter a bit, but obviously they must have made some changes for it to be able to work, in the second half of the game. So I think that's something that needs to be able to change and needs to be improved in order for us to be able to clinch back bit of dominance in a game.
Yeah, we just went straight back to kick mark. And this is what I mean. Like, I don't know. I refuse to believe that that's a coaching direction based on Voss's reaction in the third quarter or whatever it was. Like, it just, I don't know. That's very good.
I'm just laughing at Lebowski.
That is very good from Lebowski. That's very good. 2 for 1 at Specsavers, same play. It's very, very close. They're very close. They're not the same, but they're very close. I don't know. Just like I said, I refuse to believe that that's a coaching direction that we go back to chit mark. based on his reaction, and I haven't watched his press conference. I'm not sure what he's said in that, but I would assume he wouldn't have said that he was happy with the performance this week. I don't think he can be. I know it's a win, and it's good that we got another win, but we chalked this one up before the game even started. You're not losing a game like this against West Coast, you know. So I don't know. I think this playing group now really needs to take some genuine responsibility over the next month to make sure that they stay in it. Like, how much do you want it? Do you want to play finals, or do you want to just be a nothing team? Really, like just an irrelevant, mediocre, middle of the road football club? Because against even slightly better opposition, those 3 quarters after quarter time, we're getting pantsed. We've kicked 2 goals after half time against the worst side in the comp.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just on the in terms of the clearances, in terms of the midfield mix, I'd like to see, because obviously I'm pretty sure I heard someone say that Hewitt and Cherrett played about like 80% of their time in the middle, and then obviously I'm assuming Cripps would have been the next one. I'd like to see the split of what other clubs have. I know obviously Motlop went through there. Who was another that went through there? Did Williams go through there at stages?
I can try and find some centre bounce attendances.
Yeah, try find them. But I'd like to just see the percentage split across, you know, some other teams in the competition, just to see if it's like for like, because I feel like as if it could potentially be a factor in terms of our fade outs towards, you know, in second halves of games. And I feel like as if we need to maybe put a bit of speed in there. And I feel like as if we need to change it up a bit with some personnel, particularly in the second halves.
Zach had 1, Mott's had 7, Fogg didn't touch the centre bounces. So yeah, it was very much your key contributors. I think maybe Cooper Lord would have run through there a little bit at times. He had 7 as well. But I mean, for a guy that you would think is going to play predominantly midfield for his career, you'd probably want more than 7 centre bounce attendances in a game where there were 19. So, well, probably more than that actually, 20, probably 23. So I don't know. It was an interesting watch. It was a terrible watch after quarter time. I still can't just get a read on where we're at. Like, clearly we're a lot better than sides like West Coast. Clearly we're a lot worse, than sides like Collingwood. But then middle of the road, like I actually just don't know where we fit. I don't know if we're good enough to finish 7th. I don't know if we're bad enough to finish 14th at this point. Like that's a really weird spot for this club to be in so far into the development of this group. But I mean, Gavin Willen made a good comment earlier. I think we had 4 players with under 20 games of experience and 7 players under 60 games of experience against West Coast. It is relatively inexperienced, especially in that bottom end where you need your bottom 6 players to have a little bit more experience and have a little bit more composure and have a little bit more understanding and game awareness and tactical awareness to be able to execute, you know, for longer. And I don't know if that's what this is coming down to. I don't put it all down to that though. Our leaders still just aren't stepping up to the level that you would expect leaders of that caliber to step up to every week.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just so disappointed in terms of the performance and just the like, even before how you said, like, you don't know where we're at in terms of, you know, is the best 7th or, you know, are we a 14th place side? Surely we can't be a 14th place side with the players that we have on our list. It's impossible.
But yeah, I mean, and this is the question, right? Like, it's twofold. Are the players that we're talking about here Cripps? I mean, Cripps is obviously a superstar, right? But outside of Cripps, they're like a Walsh, a TDK, Charlie, Harry, with where they're at, Chera, with where they're at in their careers. Are they the players we actually think they are? Have they reached the peak? Is this their ceiling? Has Charlie come off the cliff? And is this a bit of a regression? Is Harry regressing? On Harry too, apparently he's getting a scan on his knee. So don't be surprised if he misses 2 months. But like, this is what I mean. Like, that group of players that we talk about that need to step up as leaders, are they the players that we think they are outside of a Cripps and Wiedering, who have the credentials and have done it for long enough? But even Cripps to this point in the season, unless he's playing injured, I don't know what's going on there, because he's just not having the impact that we know he can have. So I don't know. That's the first part of the question. The second part is what I sort of said before. The players below them, are they good enough? Do we have the depth? Clearly, at the moment, I don't think we do, because you got guys like, and it's not. I'm not picking on any, but even I'm not even going to pick on a Cooper Lord or a Jackson Binns. Adam Sard. What impact is he having? He had 25 disposals. I didn't see him.
Yeah, because he's turning and dump kicking it all the time.
You know what I mean? Like, Nick Haynes has been really good. I think he had another really good game. I think he's just coming to his own. I trust in Nick Haynes more than almost any other player at this point to execute his role each week. But Adam Sard, like Blake Acres, Zach Williams, like, that's your sub bracket of leaders below, your really elite, well, what we expect to be an elite category. I just don't know what they're doing each week consistently. Like, they're just not giving us what we need from that second tier. And then obviously you got that bottom tier of like a Binns and a Lord and all these players you expect to come in and play a role, but you can't always blame it on them. It's sort of that middle 6 to top 6 bracket that on game day, you just don't know what you're going to get at the moment.
Yeah, but for me, even if you go top 6 players, like, if you have the look at our top 6 players, like in terms of like on the app, obviously, you got like Harry, Charlie, they basically weren't out there. But really, I don't think Charlie would have been in there anyway.
Not with how he was going, no.
Like in terms of the trajectory he was on.
I mean, Cripps is in the bottom 6 based on fantasy rating.
Yeah. Correct.
What's
it's
going on
really
here?
only Wiedering and maybe TDK.
Yeah, Achero and Hewitt as well. I mean, Hewitt's been probably our most consistent player all year, to be honest. I thought he was brilliant. He's, as he is every week, he's very, very, he looks so much stronger than what he has in the past. And I think the way that he's breaking tackles and actually allowing us to get the ball forward out of stoppage, he's the only one that I can rely on in those moments. If it's not Hewitt at ground level, I'm not sitting here going, yeah, we're going to win this contest. If he's around it, no problem. But I don't know. Like, it's really, really frustrating week to week. A couple of positives, because I know we've been kind of on the fence and a little bit negative to this point, but I thought McGovern, the swing forward over the past couple of weeks with Mitch McGovern, I think he straightened us up. I think that is a move that we can probably stick with, particularly while Harry in particular is sidelined, and especially without Hudson O'Keefe now, which what looks like a bit more of a longer-term injury. But I think the Gov move has been good. I think Ollie Hollins, as much as I was critical of him last year, I've been very impressed by how he's going this year and his development. And we talk about development a lot and how well we develop players. I think you can look to Ollie Hollins to just sort of say, all right, well, clearly we know what we're doing when it comes to developing what others would perceive as should be high-end talent, being a first-round pick. I think he's come on leaps and bounds. Cooper Lord, obviously, still impressing week to week. But outside of that, I don't know. There wasn't really anyone that stood out to me on the day. And against a team like West Coast, that's your time to put a rubber stamp on it and go, it's an easy kill. I'm going to kick, a couple and have 30. Cheer up. He's had 30, but he hasn't hit the scoreboard. I don't know how you're not hitting the scoreboard at all this season as a midfielder. We need midfielders that we need these experienced players out of the middle to be hitting the scoreboard, not just relying on the same players in the forward half every week. I think Horatio Fantasia has been very, very good too. I think he's freed up Motts a little bit, but I think his role and the way that he executes that role at stoppage definitely helps us with our ball movement. But I think it helps us with our ball movement when the entire team has the intent to move the ball forward of centre by hand and not wait and kick mark and then dump kick. Like, I don't know. We're just very Jekyll and Hyde. Very Jekyll and Hyde throughout a football game. And I don't know where it comes from at this point. I wish I had the answer.
Yeah, just on Ollie Hollands. Yeah, I think over the last little patch, he's probably been one of the better performers. But he's one in mind where I feel like as if, particularly maybe later in games for his run, I feel like as if he could be maybe utilised on the inside as well in midfield, just to change it up a little bit. Because he's the one where he always gives effort, like 100%.
Yeah.
And in that area, he's the most consistent player. Obviously, he's got the tenacity to be able to go in and under as well. So I think he's got all the attributes to be able to do it. I just feel like as if we're not going, if the players that are in there that aren't going to be performing during those times, so, those stoppage times in last quarters, in the last part of the quarters or in the second halves. You've got to be one that we've got to look at to be able to change games because, like I said, he has all the attributes, that's for sure.
Well, especially with Doc back in the side behind the ball, I think he can be freed up a little bit to go for it. And it looks like he's being used a little bit more to get that run and gun from the back half. But I agree, if we do need to switch up a few things at stoppage, Ollie would be one I look to. Cooper Lord's another one I want to see a little bit more in there at centre bounces in particular. The other one I'll give a shout out to is Jackson Binns. Didn't have the best game. His disposal efficiency at times, well, not at times, but most weeks, is questionable. His decision making probably needs a little bit of work, but for a player that hasn't even played 10 games, he's racked up 26, had 21 kicks. I thought he was lively. I think he covered the most ground on the day. I think he had like 16 Ks covered. So he's got a lot of run in those legs from about 90% time on ground. So he's another one that I think you just persist with now without Cottrell in there. I think you just need to give him game time and without Walsh in particular as well.
With him, though, I feel like as if you need a winger like that. And Akers Akers obviously covers ground as well. But in terms of that player that's lean and got a bit of pace about him, that you need a winger like that. And most teams do have them. And he just adds to that outside run that we obviously lack already. So those attributes that he does have, it's just his ball use. But he needs time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think with his ball use, he doesn't necessarily playing that role as like a high half forward winger. You don't necessarily need to be able to pinpoint passes all the time. If you're in the right zone going inside 50 from 60 meters out, you can hit top of the goal square very easily if your ball use is questionable. And I think he'll develop that part of his game and he'll become a little bit more dangerous as time goes on. But he hasn't even played 10 games yet. So this is a kid that I think you need to just give some time to now, particularly with some of the injuries that we've got forward of centre and out of the midfield. I think Binzi plays most weeks. And outside of that, that's it. So I don't know how much more we can really talk about this game, to be honest. Like, it was a nothing game after quarter time. A little bit disappointing that we couldn't put the foot down and put the foot on the throat. I know there's a few in the chat saying, you'd rather take the foot off and not cop so many injuries going into North, Port, Pies, Brisbane over the next month, but you can't play like that. You can't play footy like that, unfortunately. Right. North. North Melbourne next week. At the MCG, Saturday, I think, what's that for me? I think it's 1:20 p.m. Saturday, is that right? Something like that, at the MCG?
Yeah, 1:20, yeah.
This is as must win as it gets, and I can't remember a danger game like this for a long time. I am not confident going into this game. Have you seen North's form line over the last 8 weeks?
Not really, to be honest with you.
So they haven't win-loss, forget about that, right? But this is a team that we beat up on pretty convincingly the last time we played them by 82 points. Since that game, they've lost to Port at Adelaide Oval by 9 points. They lost to Essendon by 3. They drew with Brisbane. They beat Richmond, got thumped by the Pies, beat West Coast, and narrowly lost by a goal to Freo when they could have easily won that game over in Perth. I'm not saying, right, I refuse to say on this podcast that this is an easy kill going into this week. Not with how we're playing, not with the availability of players that we've got at the moment, and taking their form line into account, considering that they're not the best team in the comp. They're not even close to one of the best teams in the comp, but they've had a little bit of a run here where they've been very competitive. They're going to be hungry, very, very hungry to get a win, considering they've fallen short multiple times over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised in terms of the output. I was actually speaking to a few colleagues today, and they said that North were, performing most weeks in terms of output on the grounds. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, on Saturday what they're able to produce again. But it is at the MCG. Were any of those performances at the MCG or?
No, but actually, they beat Richmond at the G. But outside of that, I think that might be their only game there this year. It is. It's the only game they've played there this year. So this is their second game at the G all year. And I don't know, if I'm a North supporter and I've watched any of Carlton over the last 6 weeks, I'm licking my lips at this matchup thinking we can get a win here.
I think anyone can bet us, though, at the moment, to be honest with you.
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah.
If we're not 40 points up at quarter time, like we have been in the last 2 weeks, I'll be very nervous in this game. Very nervous.
Yeah, I think we should see, but I'm more not into, but I think for me it's more interesting to see how our forward makeup is going to be looking in this game, to be honest.
Well, let's assume Charlie gets up, because it sounds like he will. Harry won't play. Hudson O'Keefe won't play. Does Harry Lemmy come in? He's kicked 15 goals in his last 4 at VFL level.
Yeah, I think he probably has to come in because I don't see anyone else going into the ruck.
Yep, agree. To give, unless you bring Pitto in.
Yeah, but then he has to ruck predominantly, and TDK wouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, and I don't know. I just feel like as if we're so not slow, but in terms of for whatever reason, our efforts second half aren't up to scratch. I think we've only won we lost 9 out of 13 second halves or something like that. So for whatever reason, I don't think having less run is going to help. Not that Lemmy's probably going to give that much anyway, but he's probably a bit more agile. So I reckon Lemmy probably has to come in. I reckon.
Yeah, or Lewis Young, based on what we've seen this year.
Yeah, but I don't want to see it.
Look, Youngie hasn't been so bad. We've said this on this podcast this year. When he's been called upon, he's played a role, but he's usually played a role as like a third foil in the forward line, or even a fourth at times. I think as a second, or if Charlie doesn't get up, as a first key forward option, I'd be a little bit nervous if they brought Youngie in. I think you're better off playing Harry Lemmy and just.
If Charlie doesn't get up, Young will play.
Agree with that. I tend to agree with that.
Definitely
I'd like to see.
play.
I think I'd like to see Harry Lemmy. I think we're at a point in the year and at a point on the injury front where you just pull the trigger on some of these kids and you give them some experience, give them some game time, get them out there.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who rucks second for North?
I don't know if Finbar Malley is still playing. If he's named, let me have a look. Who it was against Freo. Because I know he was doing a little bit of rucking. I know Jack Darling goes in there a little bit. Yeah, so Finbar Malley wasn't playing against Freo, so it's unlikely to be him.
So it's probably Darling.
I think it's probably Darling, yeah.
Okay, so is there an opportunity to just roll with, say, for example, Charlie gets up, or if he doesn't get up, but you just roll with the one key and a hybrid as in like Gov, and then do a Cripps second in the ruck?
Well, I mean, Cripps has been doing it most of the year, so that you'll likely see that at some point. I would hate for Cripps to be at centre bounce ruck attendances against Cherry. I think that's got injury written all over it.
if it's a centre bounce, TDK rocks.
Yeah, it has
You
to.
just make the
all day.
change.
Yeah. I mean, look, to be honest, for Tom, and it's good that we brought up Tom because I want to read this out that I saw today. I thought this was interesting. I thought this was very, very interesting. I need
Is
to
this the
find
comments where he wanted to stay?
Yeah, I need to find who posted. It must have been
From
posted.
Tom Morris. It was Tom Morris.
It was, and it was on 9. I just want to read this out. So they have said, Tom Morris has said, Tom de Koning has told Carlton he wants to stay. The issue is he won't sign at the moment because the financial gap is just too big. So, and it sounds like TDK's management are, quote unquote, trying their hardest to bridge the $5 million gap. I was last week I spoke about that I thought TDK was out the door, 80% chance he's gone. After that, if that is true, and he has told the club that he wants to stay, I'm actually more optimistic that he's going to sign. And I think he's going to sign for unders based on his value on the open market. I think it's just based on those comments, I think it's a matter of time before he signs. It doesn't actually sound like he wants to leave the club at all. It sounds like he's pretty content at the Blues.
Why would you leave and go to St Kilda?
Well,
No offense.
Why would you want to stay at Carlton at this point is what I would ask.
Yeah, but in terms of like environment, like, big games, MCG, yeah, I mean, they're not going that much better than us. I'll probably say our list is better. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem, why would you go? So, that's just me.
If I was footy player, St Kilda's the last club I'd want to sign for, to be honest. But on Tom, if that is true, right? Let's say he's told the club he wants to stay. If I'm the club, if I'm Voss, if I'm anyone that has anything to do with this, I'd be looking him in the eye and I'd be saying, Tom, if you want to stay, if you want that little bit more in your contract that you want us to offer you to be able to stay, you're coming up against the best ruck in the comp this week. Destroy him. And then we'll talk. Destroy him for 100% of the game. Kick 2 on him. Belt him around the ground. Kill him at hitouts. Give our mids first use. Then we'll talk to you. Because Tristan Xerri all year, for mine, has been the first pick All-Australian ruck. There's no one even close. What Tristan Xerri does for North is unbelievable. And I think when North eventually get it together and when they become a much more consistent football side under Clarko, I think Tristan Xerri is going to be a superstar in this competition with the way that he gives their mids first use. So this is the week for Tom after not really breaking a game open for, I'd say, almost all year and being that match winner. In a danger game, as I would label it this week, this is Tom's time to step up and go, hello, I'm worth 12 mil. I'm worth 14 mil over the life of the contract. Give it to me. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously we're talking about North, but I don't really want to go and have different conversations. But I think there's a few different players that are on our list that probably should be taking a pay cut, to be honest with you. In terms of performance, and obviously leaving a little bit on the table in terms of trying to attract different players to our team, because if they want to actually do something, it's I wouldn't say it's fastly slipping away, but it's definitely slipping away.
Yeah, I think we've got 10 out of contract at the moment going into next year. 10 like I think it was 10 players that played against Essendon are out of contract going into next year. So, and I think there were definitely a few on that list that I would question what their next contract is going to be if we're serious as a football club based on their performances in recent times, and particularly across this year.
A lot of those players would be held up though because of TDK.
100%. And once that contract falls, so if he signs, it's a domino effect. If he doesn't, we need to know sooner rather than later to start locking away a few of these players.
Well, the club would have a date in mind.
100%. Oh, mate, no doubt. With
Yeah.
list management, there is no doubt in my mind they have told Tom and his management by this date, we need an answer. And if you don't give us an answer, we're taking it as a no, and we're going to go on with the rest of our plans, essentially. So I think it's a very, very interesting month coming up. I think that deadline's probably approaching for Tom. And I think that's going to shape – I think that decision is going to shape the future of this list one way or the other. One way or the other. So we'll see. That's a bit of an aside against North. But, yeah, look, I'm not confident this week at all. If I was to give a prediction, unbiased, I think for the first time this year, I'm saying we'd lose this game against North. I don't want to be too negative, but if I'm just taking form lines into account, if I'm taking the way that we run our games into account versus what I've seen from North over the last 6 weeks since we last played them, I know who the more consistent football club is. And unfortunately, it's not us. So, I don't know. We should win.
That means 6 and 8 we're missing finals then.
6 and 8, we miss finals. I would love to see us square up the ledger, go into the Port Adelaide game, hopefully knock them off, and then you've got the Pies, and it's like, all right, we could be 9 and 7 in 3 weeks' time, but I can very, very much just as easily see us being 6 and 10.
I reckon it's more 6 and 10.
It's on a knife's edge, I'm telling you. I mean, and some people might hammer us in the comments for being negative. I'm just trying to be realistic. I've tried to be positive for most of this year. But what I saw against West Coast, you would expect that if you're trying to build momentum, that's the game where you really find some form and you really put a team like that away. And we just didn't. So, knife's edge at the moment. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think if Charlie plays, we'll win. Yeah, I think if Charlie plays, we'll win. It's going to be interesting to see at the selection table this week in terms of who can come in and come out, because there's actually been a handful of players in the VFL that actually been performing for the last few weeks. So I think even Boyd had like 30 as well.
Billy Wilson.
So, yeah, he needs to come back in for me, just in terms of ball use out of the back half. He's one of those players that doesn't dump kick it. So just in terms of our transition footy, if we want to try and bring that to the table, I reckon he's going to be able to help.
Billy Wilson. Billy Wilson's put some good form together as well.
He has as well. He has
Flynn
as well.
Young.
I just think Boyd gets the nod. Yeah, Flynn Young. I'd like to see him in, to be honest with you. I reckon he provides something different as well, particularly with his left foot and his delivery. And yeah, he's got all the attributes to be able to do something. So he'd be one. And then Durden has to come back in too, I reckon. Don't know how you fit them all, but it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Been interesting with Durds. Obviously, he was in some form to start the year. And then just, I don't know, fell out of favour and hasn't really.
I don't know how he got out. I think he kicked 2 goals and got dropped or something.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems like he's out of favour with the coaching staff. I don't know what he's not doing. Obviously, he's been on the list for a long time now. I think this is his 5th year, if not 6th, maybe. It's definitely 5th. And hasn't really stepped up to the level you'd expect. I mean, you can say the same about Motts, really, but he was playing a little bit of a different role. I'm still giving him a month to see how he is as a pure small forward. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting against North. If Charlie doesn't get up in particular, it's going to be a very, very, very interesting game. Very interesting. So
yeah. I think some of those smalls will probably find their way out the door at the end of the year anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them or
well,
two.
I mean, I think they can only go.
If you want to put the likes of like Fantasia and you know, those kinds of players as well into the basket too. Yeah, because the academy pick, who got Gresham, who's going to come into the fold as well. Yeah, so I just feel like as if it, you know, there could be some changes there come the end of the year as well.
Well, we'll see how we go. They've got this group has got 10 games to go now. That's 6 and 7. 10 games left for a lot of these players that are out of contract in particular to find some serious form and put a rubber stamp on their next contract. and for this group as a whole to show that they can stick together and still make a fist of it over the next 2 or 3 years. But it all starts with North this weekend, and I think this is a much more difficult task than what people might be giving it credit for. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully we're sitting here next week on Sunday night. It will be back on Sunday night, 7 p.m. next week because it's a Saturday game. Hopefully we're sitting here next Sunday, and hopefully Dan's with us next week as well. Sorry that he wasn't here tonight. He's had to work late. He was laid out. But hopefully we're sitting here talking about a win, because if we're talking about a loss, oh boy, it is going to be fiery. So enjoy the game. Until then,
Try our best.
Go Blues.
Go Baggers.